I'm Jacob Courtwright, and this is The Locker Room. What's going on, everyone, and welcome into The Locker Room. Very excited to have you joining me today. I feel great. I am finally healthy. I can finally breathe out of both of my nostrils. I'm finally not nasally. It's just such a good day when you're feeling great. And I hope you at home are having a great day and feeling awesome as well. Before we get started, make sure you join The Locker Room on Twitter, TLR with Jacob, on Instagram, The Locker Room Podcast 615, on Facebook, The Locker Room Host Jacob, and of course on TikTok, The Locker Room 22. We are having so much fun over there, so make sure you're joining us on the talk. And this episode is brought to you by FNX Fitness. Go to fnxfit.com for all, and I mean this, all of your supplement and energy and health needs for your best workout. Go to fnxfit.com. That is fnxfit.com. Use your promo code TLRHOST. That is TLRHOST. My gift to you, that is all capital, for 15% off your order. And it is a local U.S. company, so support the good old USA by joining us at fnxfit.com. And let's get into an awesome episode of The Locker Room. All right, well, I'm not going to bring you the typical Sunday show out or Monday makeover because I want to keep things fresh here, and I understand that you at home want some fresh things as well. Now, I have gotten a whole lot of love from that segment, so it is not going anywhere. Of course, it's going to be back. But today we are starting a brand new segment, and it is called The Best and the Worst, and I bring you my top 5 best in the NFL and my top 5 worst in the NFL. So we are going to start off and we are going to alternate. So I'll start with my first best, then my first worst, and then we are going to kind of go all the way down. And these are in order, people. So just so you know, it starts with the first of the best and then the first of the worst, and it goes all the way down to 5. And I do have honorable mentions as well. All right, so I have 2 honorable mentions for my best, 2 honorable mentions for my worst. So let's start off with my best. I've got to start off with the team that is the only undefeated team in the NFL. I've got to start off with the team that had a very convincing win against a very good Tennessee Titans team. The Pittsburgh Steelers I have as my number 1 best team in the NFL right now. Now, it is not just because of the undefeated record so far, because they do face a Baltimore Ravens team that will give them a tough fight this coming week, but I think it is because of the play of Big Ben and that offense, and of course that defense that makes them so dynamic. Big Ben is one of those quarterbacks that you can plug into a system, and if he's healthy, can instantly elevate that team to a Super Bowl contender. We saw that exact same thing with Aaron Rodgers. We see it every year. We see Aaron Rodgers with a subpar team elevate a squad to almost get to a Super Bowl or to make a deep run in the playoffs, and a healthy Big Ben does the exact same thing. And I preface that by saying healthy because he has not been healthy for several years, so a lot of these one-and-done scenarios were not with a healthy Big Ben. But healthy Big Ben is having a great year. Although Ben is starting to get a little bit looser with the football, we do see that is a characteristic of him. When he starts getting healthy, he starts feeling himself. He starts pushing balls into scenarios that might cause turnovers. He's still being pretty darn efficient, still staying in the top 15 in efficiency in the NFL right now. He's tossing a ton of touchdowns. He's over 1,000 yards in passing, of course, already. And, I mean, when you have weapons like Juju Smith-Schuster, Chase Claypool, when you have James Conner, when you have Deontay Johnson, who's having a good year, when you have Benny Snell Jr., when you have all these guys on offense that seem to just pick up the pace every single week, you're going to be successful. This offense has dynamic wide receivers, a lot of them being rookies or very young guys. And then, of course, a healthy James Conner and a healthy Benny Snell Jr. When you have running backs like that you can just plug in and can basically do what you need them to do, which is just be efficient enough so that way we can still pass the ball as many times as we want, then and you are set for life. And that is what the Pittsburgh Steelers have. A dynamic wide receiving core with good running backs and efficient Big Ben that is playing at the top of his game right now. Now, the 3 turnovers he had against the Tennessee Titans, one of them was pretty costly. One of them, I mean, even though it didn't result in a loss, it was a very bad throw. The other 2, you could argue, were not really Big Ben's fault, but necessarily it was bad wide receiver, either catching or bad wide receiver positioning. But when you have an offense like this, and then on defense you have a TJ Watt, you have a dynamic defensive end like a TJ Watt, who of course got to Ryan Tannehill several times on Sunday, who the Steelers are averaging almost 4 sacks a game, which is league high. When you have a star player in Bush that goes down earlier in the year, and then you just have another plug-in linebacker, another plug-in guy that can step in and take over Bush's position and not really drop a beat, you know you're a deep, good Super Bowl contending team. So there you have it. That is my number 1. I've got to go Pittsburgh Steelers right now. And let's go over to my number 1 of the worst teams in the entire NFL. And you guessed it, it's got to be the winless New York Jets. Now, this should be no shock to anybody listening at home that the New York Jets are the worst team that I think has ever seen the face of the earth, with the worst coach that might have ever stepped foot onto a football field in Adam Gase. But let's put it this way. Sam Darnold's not even averaging 200 passing yards a game. He averages more interceptions than touchdowns. He has 6 interceptions to only 2 touchdowns on the entire year. The Jets have the number 1 worst offense. The Jets have the number 2 worst defense. The Giants are behind them. They allow a little bit more points, but they have the number 2 worst defense. They have the number 1 worst offense. The Jets are the worst team in all of football. Now, here's something interesting with the Jets. If the Jets are trying to get the number 1 overall pick, they actually need Sam Darnold to play a little bit better, because that will allow Sam Darnold to get trade value out of his own name. If they want anything for Sam Darnold, they have to have him play a little bit better. And here's the deal. I honestly think Sam Darnold can play football. I don't think Sam Darnold's a horrible quarterback. I think he's in a horrible situation. So Chicago, who is looking for a quarterback, why not try and make this deal now? Why not ship Nick Foles to New York? Why not ship Mitch Trubisky to New York and try and get Sam Darnold? The Jets are going to need the open room. The Jets want Trevor Lawrence. We know that for a freaking fact. So if the Jets are going to bomb for Lawrence and get rid of Darnold anyways, Chicago needs to go get a young guy like Sam Darnold, who I honestly think can play good football. But if the Jets are going to be who the Jets are, they'll probably hold on to Darnold. They'll probably win no games. They'll probably get Trevor Lawrence. And then they'll just end up dropping Sam Darnold, getting absolutely nothing for him, and he'll be picked up and be a gem for somebody else's roster in the near future, because that's what Jet football does. They just suck, if we're being 100% honest. They're just bad. They already lost Le'Veon Bell. They released him, which here's the deal on Le'Veon Bell. I'm not going to talk too much on him because I'm not a big Le'Veon guy. I was when he was in Pittsburgh. He bitched to get out, and then he got out, and now all of a sudden Le'Veon Bell sucks at football, and everybody's shocked. Well, him at Kansas City, I don't know was going to be too much of a boost. It's just another weapon to have in Kansas City for fun. Clyde Edwards-Helaire clearly for me is the number 1 guy. But that's besides the point, because let's go back to the Jets. The Jets suck. They've got to be the number 1 worst team in all of football. Moving on to the number 2 best team in all of football, the team that Le'Veon Bell went to, the Kansas City Chiefs. 6-1 overall. The Kansas City Chiefs are right back where they were last year. So, of course, they have no shortage of offense there in Kansas City. Now adding Le'Veon Bell, I think, is going to be another slight boost. Not that I think it's going to set them over the edge like a lot of people think, because they're not a heavily running team. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, we've seen him move out to the passing lanes a whole lot more in the last few weeks. But the Kansas City Chiefs have one thing, and that's Patrick frickin' Mahomes, the best thrower of the football in all of the National Football League. I do realize Aaron Rodgers is definitely still up there, but what I've seen this guy do in not only rainy situations, but horrible blocking situations as well. His offensive line has broken down a lot more this year than we have seen in the past, and he just tends to get out and make the crazy one-legged across his body throw it down the field bombs that I just don't think anybody can make any. I think Aaron Rodgers is the closest, but I think Aaron Rodgers is not necessarily that guy anymore. I just think he's the most talented thrower of the football in the NFL right now. So when you have that, when you have a defense that is at least doing what they're supposed to do, and that's stopping teams from scoring more than you can, I think you're going to be just fine. Now, their defense does have some questions, and so does their special teams. Their kicker, Butker, is the worst kicker in point after attempts with only 72% completions this year. He's already missed 5 extra points, which that has not hurt them thus far, but it could in the very near future. So special teams is a question for them. And then, of course, at the end of the day, their defensive line has got to play better. Their linebackers, they've got good safeties. Their corners are holding up, but their defensive line is allowing way too many rushing yards on the ground. They're falling somewhere in the mid-pack in the NFL right now. But I'm not shocked. Kansas City at 2. I fully expect them to be in contention for another Super Bowl. Number 2 on the worst teams in NFL, the Jacksonville Jaguars. Mustache Minshew, Mustache Mania. He just can't do it with no offensive line. The defense isn't good. They literally have a linebacker that is starting that was just traded from the Tennessee Titans because of all the injuries. Their corners aren't good. Their defensive line, even though Brown's there, is really not good. They traded away everything for a reason. The Jacksonville Jaguars are going to be a few years away from being a respectable franchise once again. Now, I do think Gardner Minshew does a better job with this team on elevating, especially that offensive side of the football, to being respected in the NFL. And by no means do I think the Jacksonville Jaguars are a horrible, horrible team. I just think right now, with the way they're playing, the way they got beat on Sunday after having a lead, Justin Herbert, another young quarterback, just overwhelmed them. I just think that Jacksonville Jaguars simply need another 2 years in order to do what they have to do and to really build up this organization. I think offensively they're on their way. Robinson is a real bright spot in that running back position. DJ Chark is having a decent year. Laviska Shenault is another stud on that offense. So they're on their way to a good offense and a decent team in the next few years, but they're still far away. Got to keep you at the second worst team right now. Number 3 in the best of the NFL, I've got to go with Seattle. Even though Seattle had a heartbreaking loss to an Arizona team that is scrappy, to an Arizona team that Kyler Murray, the 4'4", a giant apparently on the field, one of the most explosive runners in all of football right next to Lamar Jackson, just seems to keep leading this team to a better and better, not only record of course, but a better and better pathway to being a not only respectable Cardinals team that we all used to love and know. We all used to know the Cardinals were always a respected team, but a Cardinals team that is going to be a contender in the very near future for the playoffs and to hopefully make a Super Bowl run if they all can stay healthy and continually add pieces. So they lost to a Cardinals team that I think is on the up and up, but this team is just simply back where they have always been with Russell Wilson at the helm. Now they are 5-1 because of that loss, but who needs to step up, honestly, on this team is the defense, and more importantly, their big trade piece, Jamal Adams. Jamal Adams and the safeties are the ones getting beat. Jamal Adams continually is hurt. He's always in and out of the lineup. He's got to step up and be worth the amount of money that they paid him. There's a reason that a lot of these guys have been leaving New York Jets because, honestly, part of it's because of the horrible coaching and horrible team, but a lot of these guys are wanting to just go get paid from an outside organization, and they need to actually show up if they're going to get all of this money. So that's one of the biggest problems is Jamal Adams just really not being there. But with Russell Wilson at the helm, this team is always going to be a deep playoff contender, a Super Bowl contender, especially this year if Russell Wilson and that offense can continually just go the way they are. DK Metcalf has shown up beyond what anybody thought he would. First off, he's one of the biggest frickers I've ever seen from the wide receiver position. Secondly, he can catch the ball. He's fast, as we saw him run down a Cardinals player all the way at the end zone from his end zone and stop a pick six. But he's become an integral part of this offense, and him paired with Tyler Lockett, Carson in the backfield, this team just seems to be gelling on all sides of the football when it comes to offense. And Russell Wilson, even though he didn't have a great Sunday night, that's no indication that Russell Wilson is in no way a top 4 quarterback. Right now, he's probably second or third, in my opinion, in the entire NFL. Their biggest problem is their safety, Jamal Adams, has got to show up, and their defensive line is literally the border wall. everybody come on through. We don't care. We ain't checking IDs. They have got to be better up front. I feel like their linebackers and their corners are doing a pretty decent job, but safety-wise and defensive line-wise, this team has got to show up, or they're going to get into some major trouble the further along they start going this season, because what we saw last year is Russell Wilson can only do so much if his defense is giving up as many yards and points as they are going to give up and allow in the near future. So, Seahawks, you're going to stay here at 3 for me. Now let's move on to number 3 in the worst of the best, or I guess best of the worst here. We've got the New York Football Giants. Got to have the Giants here. Here, the Giants are 1-6 again to start this year. It just seems like that is the case every single year. Even though Daniel Jones, I think, has had a much better season than a lot of people are giving him credit for. Daniel Jones is not only their leading rusher, but, of course, their leading thrower. I like what I've seen from Daniel Jones. We can see Jason Garrett's influence on the offense, I think, has actually been a positive thing for them. With Saquon Barkley going down and an offensive line that simply can't block anybody or anything, they're always going to have trouble on the offensive side of the football. That's just the case. Devontae Freeman has been a decent little bright spot, but other than that, they really can't move the ball from the running position, so it's all on Daniel Jones to run and throw the ball and really lead this offense, which you can't really do when you just have a terrible offense. You know, you have Evan Ingram, who is supposed to be the big guy there, and he just tends to do nothing on every given Sunday. So if you have him in fantasy, I recommend you drop him because he absolutely does nothing for you. Their defense, even though it's gotten a whole lot better, Logan Ryan seems to be a bright spot for them as well. Even though the defense is getting better, they're still a bad defense. They're still a bad offense. They're just a bad football team. They are a few years away. I say few. They're probably more than any of these teams on my worst list. Besides maybe the New York Jets, on being 5 years away or 6 years away from being a valuable football team once again, or being even in the playoff or winning conversations for several years to come. Now, Saquon coming back, the Giants getting another top pick right along next to the Jets. You'll see a Giants team slowly start to get better and better. So I give the Giants a few more years and they'll start looking a little bit better. You'll see them having a little bit more success on the winning side of football. But Giants got to stay here at 3. Moving on to number 4 of the best, and this one might shock a lot of people that I moved them up this high, but Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers with Tom Brady and Rob Gronkowski are starting to click. It was only a matter of time before this offense was fully taken over by Tom Brady and Rob Gronkowski and simply make it into what it is today. Now, you're not going to have a happy Mike Evans because he is not getting targeted a whole lot. He's not catching a whole lot of footballs, and he is used to being the guy. So, honestly, if I'm a part of that squad, now I don't know how he feels. If I'm Mike Evans and I'm unhappy, I would look to get traded before the deadline. There's a lot of spots that you could go to where you would be an instant, not only threat, but impact to that roster. But I don't think that's going to happen. If Mike Evans is unhappy, which there's a lot of reports that he is, that he's not getting targeted enough, that he's not getting enough catches, he's not getting the respect that he deserves from his new quarterback, Tom Brady. If that's the case, ship him out now because this Tampa Bay team has real shot to win the Super Bowl. Now that Gronkowski's starting to go off, you've got the little guy, I think Sam Miller. Yeah, you have Sam Miller. I'm sorry, guys. I'm trying to remember all of this off the top of my head and off some notes, but you have Sam Miller who's now starting to just come into what Wes Welker, what Julian Edelman has always been for Tom Brady, which is a reliable set of hands on third down. You have O.J. Howard, who actually got into the mix on Sunday for the first time in a while, it seemed like. You have Ronald Jones in the backfield, who has been handling that workload just fine. You have Leonard Fournette to back him up as well, who's starting to get healthy and get back out there. You have Godwin. You're now bringing in Antonio frickin' Brown, who is still one of the best wide receivers in all of football. It is yet to be seen if he is going to be a cancer for this football team or if he's going to be a cure. But if he is a non-cancer factor, if you have a happy Mike Evans, a happy Antonio Brown, if you can keep everybody happy, this is the best offense in football with the best quarterback when it comes to crunch time in Tom Brady. Definitely not the best quarterback in the NFL. for those of you that were a little bit panicked. But he's the best quarterback when it comes to crunch time. And I will argue that to the day that I die. You name me a quarterback, even right now, that you want within 45 seconds with the game on the line, I'm picking Tom every single time, simply for the body of work that he's always proven it. And now you have a defense that is starting to go from back of the NFL to front of the NFL. The last couple weeks, what they have done to Green Bay, what they have done to all of their opponents since their last loss, it just seems like this team is starting to say, hey, this is who we are, this is our footprint, and let's start moving forward. And now that Tom Brady's comfortable in an offense, now that their defense is finally putting their stamp on a football game and creating turnovers, this team is a strong Super Bowl contender and has to stay at number 4 for me. At number 4 for the worst, we have the Atlanta Falcons. Not only are they 1-6, but the Atlanta Falcons should definitely be at least 3-3 or 4-2. The Atlanta Falcons are the biggest choke job artists that we have ever seen in the history of any kind of sport, and that is why they land here on number 4 of the worst of the worst. What I have seen in leads that were blown, excuse me. Is remarkable. We saw the biggest epic meltdown in Super Bowl history with this team, and now we are just seeing this. This is just like an average Sunday thing. Get a big lead, go to win a game, choke job it up, and we saw that again on Sunday against the Lions as frickin' Todd Gurley stumbles into the end zone to score as opposed to going down and saving the game for the Atlanta Falcons. And then, of course, what happens is the Lions march all the way down. They score. They win the game. The Atlanta Falcons yet again blow another lead. I've never seen a defense or an offense choke this bad in my life. I don't even want to get into the personnel. I don't want to get into the coaching. I don't want to get into the numbers. Just simply, if you can hear that at home, that is me choking because that is what the Atlanta Falcons are doing. I don't know how to describe it. I don't even know where to go on this. They suck. They suck. They suck with the lead. If I'm the Atlanta Falcons, I would never want to lead in this entire thing. Like, if I'm the Atlanta Falcons, you just give me, you spot me, I'll spot you 2 touchdowns, and then you give me the ball in the fourth quarter, and then let's see if Matt Ryan and that offense and that defense cannot choke and actually step up, because with a lead, they are just as bad as we have ever seen. So choke job, Falcons, you've got to stay at 4. Number 5 for the best in the NFL, the Green Bay Packers. Now, I know that's hard for me to say because I am a Chicago Bears supporter, so Chicago Bears fan and lover. I split with the Bears and Titans because that is where I've split, my life. I split my life up in Chicago. I've split my life down in Tennessee, so I support them to the day that I die. I love them both. But the Green Bay Packers are just the real deal. And this is the exact same way that they were last year. Aaron Rodgers is playing the best I think we have seen Aaron Rodgers play. And that is with all of last year in mind, where I thought Aaron Rodgers was spectacular as well. This offense, now that they have Devontae Adams healthy, now that Aaron Jones is back healthy, Williams is healthy in the backfield now, you just have players that can make plays. Valdez-Scantling, I think, is starting to come into his own. This team is incredible on offense, and it is elevated with Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers can make bad players look good, can make good players look great, and that is just what Aaron Rodgers does. And when you add great players already with a great Aaron Rodgers, like Devontae Adams, you get what you had on Sunday. Even though it was a horrible team that they were playing, they still dominated in every aspect. It wasn't close. The Green Bay Packers are the real deal. Defensively, Ajayi in the middle. You've got linebackers that I don't even know their names, but just seem to make plays every single week. You have corners and safeties that just continually step up and make plays. And these are not players that I instinctively would know their names because they do it as a collective group. They're gang tackling the most in the entire NFL. That means that for those of you who don't know a whole lot about, football, that means that for every one guy that is tackling, there's at least 2 or 3 other guys with them. So that means that the Green Bay Packers are ball hawks. They're always going to the ball as a collective group. That is a sign of a good coach and a good defense. The Green Bay Packers are on the verge to be right back where they were in that championship game in the NFC again. But Packers, my 5th best team. And then we are going to move over to my 5th worst team in the entire NFL. You've heard me talk about them all year long. The WTF football team. the Washington football team. No, that's right, I call them the WTFers. But the Washington football team, they're bad. They lost to the football Giants. That was the Giants' first win of the entire year. But Washington's just simply not a good football team. Even with Allen now at quarterback, I don't think that he gives them any much more dynamic offensive presence, even any more than Dwayne Haskins did. I'm not a Dwayne Haskins guy. I don't think Allen's the guy. Alex Smith is just... he is what he is. He's a great story, but he's not that great of a quarterback anymore. Now, I do realize that they did win on Sunday with a very convincing fashion. I think it was 25-3 against the Dallas Cowboys, but we'll talk about them in just a moment. Hint, hint, one of my bonus teams to talk about. But yeah, I mean, the WTF football team, they're just not good. They're not good. They're not going to win this division. The Cowboys, if they can trade for a quarterback, which they might be looking to try and get like a Jameis Winston, or they might be trying to get Fitzmagic, which I think would be their best case scenario. Go get Fitzmagic in Miami because he's already having a great year. Bring Fitzmagic to the most talented team that he would ever be the quarterback of, and I think that you would create some real magic down in Dallas. But WTF football team, you're just not good. That plain and simple. Your defensive line, Chase Young, you guys are great. Other than that, you can't cover a single soul in the passing game. You're just not good. Now let's move on to my bonus teams, and I'll go pretty quick here. I've got 2 bonus teams for the best, 2 bonus teams for the worst. The number 1 bonus team for the best, we're going to go with the Baltimore Ravens, 5-1. Lamar Jackson still at the helm in that offense. They're slowly starting to get their feet under them. They understand that Lamar Jackson has to be better in the passing game. He's his worst that he's ever been in his entire career right now. But I'm hoping that elevates because I like seeing an explosive offense there in Baltimore until the Tennessee Titans play them. Then I hope that they're completely 100% horrible. But I can't put the Ravens any higher right now for the simple fact that Lamar Jackson's just not showing me enough. But they did have the addition of Dez Bryant that we just heard the news about literally as I was filming the show. So where Dez Bryant really fits in with these Ravens, I don't know. Will that add another dynamic spot for them? I do believe that he will. So I got to go Ravens. And then right under the Ravens, your very own Tennessee Titans. Yes, the Titans are in my power rankings for the best teams in football, sitting right here at number 7. I like what I've seen from the Titans. If you want to know what I think we should fix about the Titans or where I think we're lacking, go watch my Titans take. It's on Instagram TV exclusively right now. Instagram podcast, or Instagram is the Locker Room Podcast 615. But it's simply third down defense and outside containment is our biggest problem. Offensively, I think we're right up there with some of the best in the NFL. But those are my 2 extra credits for the best, and now my 2 extra credits for the worst. The Houston Texans, which for Tennessee Titans fans, we are glad to say that they're not a good football team. They're looking already to trade half of their team away and hopefully get some more pieces for Deshaun Watson. David Johnson can't run the ball because their offensive line might be the worst in all of football, right behind the New York Jets. It's atrocious. They can't literally keep a single person. I saw my niece play them last Sunday, and she was able to walk through and push them over. So it's just a sad, sad day when you have a Houston Texans team that has so much talent, yet doesn't all at the exact same time because they're just a bad football team on the offensive side of the football. And defensively, they're playing 34-plus minutes because their offense can't stay out there. So they are definitely in my worst extra credit. And then next after them, I've got to go with the Dallas Cowboys. It was very tempting for me to put the entire NFC East in my worst of the NFL segment here because they are. I mean, you have the New York Football Giants, you have the WTFers, and the Dallas Cowboys. And honestly, the Philadelphia Eagles could be right there in this conversation. The Dallas Cowboys, now with Andy Dalton going down, have no quarterback. I saw the rookie come in, and rookie or second year out of Richmond, the guy is just not good. Or James Madison, excuse me. He's just not good. You don't have any quarterback that can lead this offense. You don't have any passion, any heart, any drive over in Dallas to actually be a successful football team, it seems like this year. They are burning themselves literally with their own matches and their own gasoline. Ezekiel Elliott cannot go a game without fumbling. They have no quarterback to deliver a ball to their dynamic wide receivers. Amari Cooper is an overpaid hack who doesn't know how to actually play when he has no other quarterback or step up and be a leader in any way. DeMarcus Lawrence is an overpaid hack who doesn't know how to sack anybody in the entire NFL after he got his big payday. The only bright spot is Diggs on that defense, and he is literally a rookie out of Alabama. It is atrocious. It's sad. It's disgusting. I'm happy that the Dallas Cowboys finally suck again, so that way everybody in America can stop telling me America's team, they have a chance, Dak Prescott, blah, 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 blah. Now, I'm very sorry to hear what happened to Dak Prescott, but I hate the Dallas Cowboys, and I'm glad that they suck. All right, well, if anybody needs a replay on that or needs to slow it down, I'm sure you can put it in some sort of filter on some sort of social media because they do that all the time and they slow it down. But that is my NFL best and NFL worst. Let me know what you think at home. Shoot me a message, hit me in the DMs, comment below on Instagram or wherever you may be listening, because I love having these conversations with people. I love what people's outside perspectives are, who they think the best are, who they think the worst are. Let me know. We are going to move on to UFC 254. Khabib Nurmagomedov finally beats Justin Gaethje in the biggest awaited fight of the entire year by submission in the second round via triangle to not only cement his legacy at 29-0, seems a shame he didn't go for 30, but cement his legacy and then finally retire. It was a heartwarming story as Khabib lost his father earlier this year. What a horrible 2020 for a lot of people out there. But yes, he lost his father, and then after winning this fight, he said that without his father, he no longer wants to be in the ring, no longer wants to be a part of the UFC because his dad can't be there with him. His dad was his biggest inspiration. His dad was the reason that he started to fight. His dad was always in his corner. Beautiful story, beautiful retirement, way to walk off on top of your game, Khabib. Now, we're not going to get into is Khabib the GOAT, because I am going to have a segment of that with one of my very good friends who is a massive UFC guy. He actually competed in fighting competitions himself, and we're going to get into the Khabib GOAT conversation on another episode very soon, so keep your eyes and ears open. But the question I want to talk to you guys about right now is what happens with the belt at the lightweight division. You have Khabib walking off at 29-0. He's giving the belts up because he is retiring. So what's next? You have Conor McGregor fighting Dustin Poirier. I believe that fight is going to be for the belt, and I don't remember if it's in December or if it's in January. They were working out one of those two dates for the fighters, but Conor McGregor coming back and reclaiming his throne would be not only an epic step up for his already legacy that goes beyond words for a lot of athletes, but would cement him as one of the greatest to ever walk the earth and one of the baddest men to ever fight in UFC, in mixed martial arts. He's already the first double champ. He's already literally dominated this division, and for him to come back, do a Dustin Poirier 2 fight and win, I think this fight has got to be for the belt. I'd love to know what you guys think at the house, at home, wherever you're listening, the car, the hotel, the motel, wherever you are. But that is my thoughts on where the fights should go. I think that this fight should be for the open belt. Conor McGregor, of course, is a top contender. He never dropped out of that spot. This was either going to be Khabib trying to continue his legacy and then probably have to, because just to shut people up, fight Conor once more. And Conor, here's the deal with Conor. Khabib Nurmagomedov has only lost 2 rounds in his entire UFC career. They said that he lost one again this weekend, which I don't believe. Some people had him losing a round to Justin Gaethje. But let's say that he has lost 2. The only other person who would have ever taken a round off of Khabib is Conor McGregor. So if that's any indication of what Conor McGregor not only is capable of, but what Conor McGregor is as a fighter, he is one of the best to ever do it. And if he's able to come back and reclaim his throne atop this division, that would be not only great for the sport of UFC, not only great for the country of Ireland, but great for Conor McGregor's legacy. So Conor versus Dustin Poirier, I do believe, has got to be for the open belt that is now out there because of Khabib walking away. And I do want to always praise the UFC, because what they do in terms of entertainment, what the UFC does in terms of putting on these fights at Fight Island has just been incredible, and I can't commend them enough. But let's move on to this point as well. Michael Chandler, the newcomer in the UFC, is getting to get his shot at a top 5 guy. Now, for me personally, I believe Michael Chandler has to fight a top 5 guy before he gets a belt shot. That's just coming in and earning your stripes in the UFC before you can get that hardware. I believe Michael Chandler should come in and either fight Tony Ferguson or Justin Gaethje. Now, Tony Ferguson's going to get his shot very soon, so I do believe that Tony and Michael Chandler would make the most sense right now, for the simple fact that Tony's ready to go. Michael Chandler has to fight a top 5 guy in order to get his shot in the UFC, in order to get his shot at any kind of hardware. So does that mean that we get a Michael Chandler versus Tony Ferguson, which could I say would be one of the most entertaining fights ever as well, simply for the fact that I love Michael Chandler. I love what he brings to the game. He is a different animal. And then Tony Ferguson is probably the weirdest, craziest, most unique fighter we have ever seen. He enjoys damage. His body is literally straight liquid. He can take as much beating as anybody else. We saw that against the Justin Gaethje fight. So this would be an incredible fight, but the problem is what do you do with Justin Gaethje now? Does Justin Gaethje wait out in the wings? Does Justin Gaethje instantly move on and take the number 1 contender spot after the Conor Dustin fight? So if Conor or Dustin is for the belt, do we all of a sudden get a Justin Gaethje fight for the belt fight after Conor hopefully wins it, because I would love to see that, or Dustin Poirier wins it? I don't know. There's a lot of moves that UFC can make here. I do believe Justin Gaethje should get his shot for sure. He went up against the greatest fighter of all time in Khabib. Conor's last fight was dominating against Cowboy Cerrone. Literally ended it in, 26 seconds, I think. So with all that being said, here's what I think is going to happen, or here's what I think should happen in the locker room's perspective. If you don't care, then, put me on mute, tune me out, and it doesn't matter. Conor McGregor versus Dustin, I think, has to be for the belt, whenever that fight may be. I know they're still in talks with either the end of this year or January. That fight's got to be for the belt. Number 2, I would go Michael Chandler versus Tony Ferguson. I think Chandler deserves a top 5 shot instantly. He has proven himself for several years in the opposing company. Now we're UFC guys over here, but I'm not mad at Bellator, all right? But he has proved himself in Bellator for several years. I think Chandler gets a shot at Tony Ferguson. And then I believe Justin Gaethje is going to jump that fight, and he should be the number 1 contender for the winner of Conor versus Dustin. And if they don't want to do that, Justin Gaethje could also take the winner of Tony Ferguson, Michael Chandler, and then the winner of that could take it on and defend the belt. But I think we're going to need a belt defense sooner rather than later. So I do believe Justin Gaethje kind of gets his rest for right now, enjoys the holidays. But I believe Justin Gaethje is going to get his shot at the belt yet again, and I believe it's going to be Conor or Dustin, hopefully Conor, holding that belt in the near future. And then I believe Michael Chandler works his way into this division by having a fight against a dynamic Tony Ferguson, which would be one of the most epic fights, not only of the year, but of all time, because these two fighters are just two unique individuals. Michael Chandler's cardio and Tony Ferguson's breakdancing. So this is what I believe is going to happen in this division. I want to congratulate Khabib and all that he's accomplished in the sport. Congratulations on literally walking away atop of your division, atop of your game, 29-0, one of the greatest to ever do it. We are going to have a conversation in the near future with UFC guys, with people who have been fighters before, on who they believe the all-time GOAT is. So this is going to be a really fun segment in the very near future. But that is my kind of breakdown of UFC 254 and Khabib's walkaway. It was beautiful. He walked away on top. He said a very sweet prayer, even though I didn't understand a damn word. I'm sure it was beautiful, to his father. And I believe that this is the right move for Khabib. Here's the deal in the fighting game. If your heart's not in it, then your mind's not in it. And if your mind's not in it, you're going to take damage you don't need to take. That's the same conversation that a lot of fighters have with each other. If you're not into it with your heart, then you're not going to be into it with your mind. And if your mind and heart aren't into what you're doing, you're always going to fail. And in a fighting world, this is not the kind of attitude you want to bring. It's not like basketball where you can suck and just sit on a bench at 47 years old. This is taking real significant damage to your body. So this is the right move for Khabib. Congratulations to the champ. Congratulations to one of the greatest to ever do it. All right, and last but not least, I know you're probably tired of hearing my voice, but we are going to talk a little NBA, and I know the NBA is done. People are probably like, yo, Jacob, give me a break from the NBA for a while. We got so much NBA. We got you cheering on the greatest ever do it, LeBron. We got you celebrating the Lakers. But some talk about the NBA finally starting on Christmas Day has arose, and I just want to voice my support for finally getting it right. The NBA finally got something right. Now, there's a lot of things they get wrong. There's a lot of crap that they run their mouths about that, as far as, rules and replays and all this other stuff that I think is just dumb, and that they've made bad decisions, and that the NBA being run as an organization has slowly declined, but we finally are getting back on track with some wise and smart decisions, so congratulations for finally getting this one right. Basketball is meant to start on Christmas. Basketball is meant to start 2 days before Christmas. On the 22nd is when they're looking at, December 22nd, to restart the season. This is when basketball is supposed to be back. This is when we are supposed to be watching basketball. I mean, I do want a show of hands out there. How many of you watch NBA before Christmas Day? Oh, that's right, none of you. That is why their ratings are down 83% before Christmas Day, because guess what's going on? The greatest sport to ever walk the earth, NFL and college football. I say two greatest sports because college football is, in my opinion, the greatest sport to ever walk the earth, and then NFL is right behind that. But you have the NFL and college football that dominate all the days before Christmas. So I'm not going to sit there and watch a Lakers game on a Tuesday that doesn't mean jack crap when I can watch an Oregon Ducks game, on a Thursday night against Arizona, or I can watch college football all weekend. Nobody's watching the NBA during the regular weeks anyways, because most people are either busy working a job, or they just, when they get home, they don't care. They're watching Bones, or they're watching whatever stupid TV show that's out there. All right? So, that being said, I mean, this is the way that it needs to go. Now, NBA players like LeBron James, who kind of pissed me off with what he was saying he's refusing to play if the season starts on December 22nd, if he has to play on Christmas, that's not a long enough break, blah, 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 blah. Hey, buddy, you won the championship. How about you just shut up for 5 seconds, all right? Just enjoy the fact that you won and let this thing start the way it needs to start, which is on Christmas Day. It needs to start on Christmas. There's nothing I love more than opening up my presents, then getting to go watch a Golden State Los Angeles Lakers game, then going to watch a Bucks versus Heat game. It's just so fun. It's so exciting. It's the time that every family wants to just lay down and watch basketball in the afternoon and then watch a Christmas movie at night. And it's just the perfect ribbon on top of a perfectly wrapped present. And that's what they really need to do in the NBA. I am full support of this December 22nd start. People like LeBron James and Draymond Green and everybody else that's out there complaining, shut up. Let the people have what they want. Gotta give the people what they want. Right? This is what we've been asking for. This is what we've been begging for. This is the stuff that we love, which is the NBA on a cold Christmas day, opening presents the American way. And that's right. That rhymed. That's right. That was off the top of my head. All right? I really want this to happen because I feel like this would make the NBA what it is or what it needs to be, which is coming in and starting on the right time. Giving us a shorter season, which is what we all want. I've said the same thing about baseball. Don't give me 212 frickin' games a year and then expect me to be invested on a Monday night game that's a doubleheader from the Cubs versus Pitt. Don't care. Give me the games that matter. Give me these 80 games matter or these 60 games matter a whole lot more because there's not another 60 that you can fluff. All right, so baseball, NBA, shorten up the seasons, start at the appropriate times. The NBA needs to start on Christmas. We need big Christmas Day opening games, which would be so much fun. Fully in support. Shut up, LeBron. Shut up, everybody else that keeps complaining about it. No one cares. Give the people what they want. NBA on Christmas. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I'm sorry to say, but this is the end of our show, and I know that you're going to miss it. I know that you're already sad that it's over. I know that you're probably, rewinding it because you want to listen to all of my wisdom and great takes for the day. I know. But you're going to have to come back and just watch next Tuesday or listen next Tuesday, whatever you want to do. You can watch it on YouTube, or you can listen wherever you want to listen because it's literally on everything. But in all sincerity, I want to appreciate all of you and say thank you to everybody who supports the locker room and listens, and everybody that cares about this brand and cares about me and cares about what we're talking about and what we're trying to build here, because you are the real MVP. You are the greatest of the greatest. I can't say enough great things about you, the fan, the listener. I call you the locker room faithful for a reason, because you have been faithful, and I know this is a work in progress. I know we're getting better, and it's all thanks to you guys continually supporting. We also want to thank FNX for all that they do for us. Thank you for our sponsorship. Thank you for supporting us. Thank you for keeping America fit and strong, and keeping all these raged out men who would otherwise probably do crazy things in the world in the gyms and building on their giant muscles so they can feel better about themselves. So thank you, FNX. Thank you, everybody who listens. If you want more of the locker room content, you've got to get connected with us on our social media. I'm telling you, that is the only way you get to stay with us. That is the only way you get to continually see what we're doing, watch all of our other content. We have Titans takes. We have college football pick'em shows. We have posts all the time on Instagram. We have stuff all over on Twitter, whatever, Facebook. TikTok is a big one as well. We're killing it on TikTok, enjoying TikTok. So please, just join us on our social media so you can stay up to date with us. I want to thank you all for listening at home. I want to thank you all for continually supporting us. I want to thank you, the fan, the locker room faithful. Once again, I'm Jacob Courtwright, and this is The Locker Room.